Those who want to see the Quran, those who want to open the doors of heaven, the doors of the Quran that are in the chest, it is in the chest. It is the key to open the chest. God says, we have truly brought the 7 that repeat. What are the 7 that repeat? You know it as well as I do. It is chapter 1, the Fatiha. We will return to what I have already explained to understand how the devil has deceived us. God has given us a key. This key has 7 digits. It has 7 points. The devil changed 1 point. He put another one. I don't know what to call it. I'm not a brainiac. And this number, God gave us a code for this number. He said it repeats incessantly. It's the code for your credit card. If you don't enter the correct code, if you search, you won't be able to find the word. Nothing comes out. Okay. And what did the devil do? He changed a digit. He removed one and replaced it. You're searching for the word. It's just incredible. There are words like that that escape me, and I can't. You need to dial the right number. We were taught. Okay, I will come back. In chapter 1, it's good that you can visualize it. Okay, the repeated 7, it's this one. You know it. Opening. Look, where the verse is, we have already talked about it. In the name of God, the most merciful, by essence and by excellence. Verse 2 of chapter 1 is the angel, the praise of a God, Lord and Master of the worlds, Alhamdulillah and Rabbil al-Amin, the Master of the worlds. The devil, the wicked one, has removed verse 1. He has bought it. Everyone, there, are 2 billion Muslims today. Okay, there is a tiny minority, a microcosm within the macrocosm, that says, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, as if including verse 1, who recites it. Many also recite it softly. I have loaded a bit. It starts with that. As if the Fatiha began with a verse of water. Okay. Praises to God, Lord and Master of the worlds. The Fatiha for Muslims begins with, as God said, I have sent you the 7 repeated, as well as the Quran. That is to say, he detached. We will return to verse 87 of chapter 15, as well as the Quran. Yet, you can see, the 7 repeated are in the Quran, there. They are indeed there. Logically, you say to yourself, but this is the first chapter. It's in the Quran. The paper Quran, in fact. There. In chapter 15, God tells us, I have truly sent you. The 7 repeated. The 7 that repeat incessantly, all the time. Okay, it's the opening, it's the key. You lose the key, nothing opens anymore. As well as the Quran. That is to say, if you do not have the 7 repeated, the Quran forgets you. It's the opening, it's the key, the meftah. So he says, here, I have given you the key and the Quran. If you lose the key, you can't go home anymore. You can't enter God's house, to be more precise. He says, here is the key. If you want to come to my place, I give you the code. If you lose the code, you can no longer enter your friend's house. He says, here, I am absent. But if you want to come by the house, here is my code. The entry code, if you change a digit, you can no longer enter. That's what the devil did. He removed verse 1. That we do not recite with intention, because when in your mind, verse 1 is Alhamdulillah and Rabbil Amin, you have changed the code. Whether you say it quietly or not, you have changed the code. While God reminds us in his book how to recite, how to pray, with a moderate voice. That is to say, neither too loud nor too soft, because God knows why. He taught us that in our prayers, There should be a part said quietly and a part said loudly. Once again, we have been mocked. Because the devil knows the importance of reciting, of praying with a moderate, intermediate voice. So, in addition to that, we, in the 7 that are incessantly repeated, have removed in our minds a verse consciously or unconsciously. In reality, most are victims of their weakness. They are manipulated, deceived by our own rabbis, preachers, pseudo-theologians, intellectuals, thinkers, etc., so-called Muslims. Okay. So, the devil actually made us literally remove the verse, and he replaced it with verse 8, which does not exist in the opening. Verse 8 is Amin. Amin. There you go. Verse 8, which we repeat incessantly. In the chapter of the opening, chapter 1, this word does not exist, whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not. Amin is not mentioned. It is not mentioned. Amin. Why do we add it? For me, you just need to respond to my arguments. The rest after that does not interest me. Who said we should say Amini? So, we need to add words, the subtlety, the 7 repeated, as well as the Quran. So, with the common sense that God has given you, you think, wait, the 7 repeated as well as the Quran. Why does he say as well as the Quran when the 7 repeated are in the Quran? It would have been more accurate for God to say, we have revealed the Quran, in which the 7 repeated are found. It makes sense. Yes, the Quran contains the rule. It contains the Fatiha. It contains the 7 repeated. Indeed, you tell him no. He says, you will have access to the Quran. You will have access to the Quran through the 7 repeated. The devil knows you will have access to the Quran that comes down from the sky. For those who now know the difference between the book and the Quran. So God says, I have sent down to you the book, the Quran, on paper. Inside, there are the 7 repeated that allow you to access the Quran. That is to say, the interpretation, the tafsir of the book you have in your hands. So I think that someone who has just an ounce of fear, you see, I say I do not take a side. It is not in the Quran. I will not gamble my eternity for a word that some people decided one day should be said, Amine. Or not starting with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Or even saying it, but quietly. Because, well, we are no longer even in the optional, you see, it is reversed. It is not very useful. While it is the first, so do not waste your time. We must return to God. I gave you this morning, by the grace of God, the code. Take care of it.